Okay, sit yourself onto your lift and come into a good cross-legged position. And in cross legs, just have a little wriggle about, make sure that you're sitting evenly. You feel like there's levelness at the hips. Because levelness from the base of the pose is really essential for the remainder of the pose to feel secure. So have a little wriggle about. Sorry, I haven't done my microphone. A little wriggle about. Just make sure that you're feeling even, and then just spend a moment just observing the balance of the seat bones. Just hold onto your knees. So especially if there is any back issues, especially in the lower back, just observe that balance of the seat bones, ensuring that there is a genuine levelness. Roll onto the front edge of the seat bones so that you can lift the heart area more effectively. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Just look at the floor, look at something that isn't moving. So that your eyes become still in the sockets. Focus on filling the lungs from the bottom to the top. And emptying your lungs from the top to the bottom. Release your hands, bring your hands into Namaste, press the palms firmly together. Lengthen from your armpits into your elbows into the heels of your hands, the heels of the hands into the fingertips. And allow your eyes to gently close. So rolling onto the front edge of the seat bones, lifting the heart area, drawing the shoulders down. Just continue to focus on filling the lungs from the bottom to the top. Acknowledging the balance at the seat bones. Acknowledging that the in-breath brings in the energy we need to perform our practice. Draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area. And then release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. Just connect the tip of the index finger with the tip of the thumb. Just hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area and raise your head. Allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Just hold on to your knees. Elevate the heart area upwards, drawing your shoulders down. Take a deep inhalation in through the nose. And then turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across and your ribs and your shoulders. Just observe how the turn feels for your back, for your seat bones, just how turning into the right side just helps to generate awareness and consciousness of the physical body, just feeling where the body is in 3 dimensions. And then come back to the center. Hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest, elevating the heart area upwards, drawing your shoulders down. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the left, drawing your abdomen across and your ribs and your shoulders. And then gently come back to the center. Just feel how your back is feeling after turning. Just spend a few more moments just lifting the chest and filling the lungs with energy. And then come off your lift. Sit back on your heels, have the big toes together, your knees apart, just sitting down onto your heels. Just have a little wriggle into the inner heels so that the outer heels roll out. The little toes come down. Lift up into the heart area. Aiming to draw the chest up to the ceiling. Really lifting upwards. Gather the shoulder blades together. And then come forwards. Stretching forwards. Just a little bit at a time. Just feeling how that stretch feels for you. Sometimes it can be useful to start with a block underneath your head. It helps you to keep the chest lifted, but also if you've got a stiff back, it will help you to just come forward incrementally. Push the area between the eyebrows into the block. So maybe it feels too high on the high end, so try the next level down. Again, pressing the area between the eyebrows into the blocks. Breathing even deep inhalation. exhalations, drawing the tailbone down to the floor. Keep your arms deeply engaged in the stretch, keeping the outer elbows drawing inwards so that you keep your arms straight. Breathe in from the bottom of the lungs to the top with the in-breath, and vice versa for the out-breath. Listen to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. Just push your hands into the floor and then sit yourself back up onto your seat bones. Lifting the heart area upwards, just observing how that energy feels in the chest. Just walk your hands behind you. Bring the hands onto the mat or onto the floor, and then push the palms really deeply into the floor. Lift from the wrists up into the armpits. So you might just want to do this stage. It's just a variation of pariankasana. Draw the tailbone inwards, lengthening the sacrum away from the lumbar. Push the hands firmly into the floor, lift from the wrists up into the armpits. So you lift the chest, and then if you can, or if you want to, you can draw the tailbone away from the seat bones, lifting the seat bones away from the heel, turning the tailbone in, and then drawing chin away from the chest. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, lifting from the wrists up into the armpits. And then come down. Push the hands into the floor, release the head, and then come back to the center, just feeling the energy around the shoulders. And then again, come forwards into Adho Mukha Virasana, just stretching out your back. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Come up onto your knees, have your hands as wide apart as the mat. Have your feet as wide apart as the mat. And then work to lift the muscles of the legs. Lift the tailbone up to the ceiling. Lift the thighs to the ceiling. Lift the kneecaps and press the kneecaps through to the backs of the knees. But feel like you're really lifting the legs. Turn the fronts of the thighs inwards so that the heels begin to separate. Turn the fronts of the shins inwards. Lift the tailbone up to the ceiling. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Pressing the fronts of the thighs into the backs of the thighs. Turning the fronts of the thighs inwards. So Ian, don't stay in dog down for too long because you're in recovery. So just briefly, just come down onto your knees, go back into Adho Mukha Virasana. Just stretching yourself out. And then step your feet forwards, come up into standing position, and then get a couple of blocks for your hands. And then bring your feet as wide apart as your mat. Turning the toes inwards, really spreading your palms. Have your hands on your hips, lift up into the heart area, wing your elbows towards each other. And then hinge at the hips, keeping your hands on your hips, keeping your head lifted, hinging at the hips. and then finding the blocks beyond fingertips. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, lifting the chest. Hit the legs back like you were doing Adho Mukha Svanasana, dog down. Hitting the fronts of the thighs through to the backs of the thighs, feeling that the backs of the knees open up like the iris of a camera. If you can go down lower, then do. Just observe your back this morning. Just feel your weight into the pose. Be conscious of your body's response to the pose. Listening to the breath. And then go up onto the upper left of the blocks. Bring your left block into the middle, remain on your fingertips, have your hand, the right hand in the lower back, keep the legs really firmly activated, lengthen into the spine, and then turn your chest to the right side. Drawing that top shoulder over to the left side of the room. And then come back. Just bring the blocks underneath the shoulders again, project into the chin and the chest. And then bring the right block underneath your chest, beyond your fingertips, keep the legs activated, extend into the spine, and then turn the chest to the left. Lifting the legs. And then gently just coming back to the centre, just projecting the chin and the chest forwards again. The legs towards the wall behind you. And then bring your hands into your hips, bend your knees if you need to, and then come up into a standing position. Just move the blocks out of the way. We might use those again in a bit. And then come into Tadasana. So lift up into the chest. Just come into Tadasana, inner edge of the feet together. And then just observe your energy. Observe your balance. Observe where your weight is. So is your weight in the toes? Just everyone push your legs forward so that your weight goes into your toes. And when the weight is in your toes, maybe you find that your balance becomes a little precarious, but it encourages you to use your toes a little bit more. So spread the toes, keep the weight in the toes for the moment, but just feel how balance feels a little more precarious. So keep activating the toes and then hit the legs back so that your weight goes into your heels. And then tuck the tailbone in. Lift up into the chest, activating the legs, tightening the kneecaps, turning the fronts of the thighs inwards, hitting the fronts of the thighs towards the backs of the thighs. Bring your arms out nice and wide, in towards your chest, and then step or jump the feet apart, nice and wide with your legs. Turn your left toes in, right leg and foot all the way out, and then come back to the centre. Just feel for a moment that you're in the right alignment for the feet, that the heel of the front foot is in line with the instep of the back foot. Just feel that that's in the right place. Have a quick look, just make sure that it is, adjust it if it's not, and then come over to the right side, turning the chest up to face the ceiling, looking up if you can. So sometimes looking up doesn't feel right for some, sometimes it can make you feel a bit dizzy, sometimes it just hurts, it's uncomfortable in your neck. So look forwards or down if that's the case, but looking up helps to clear out the sinuses. Just feel where your trikonasana is this morning. Feel the body in 3 dimensions. Lining the feet with the hips, with the chest, with the arms. Just feel like you're in a really good straight line. Breathing from the bottom of the lungs to the top. And then lift up, come over to the other side, swap, or come back to the centre, swap your feet around. And again, just feel that your feet are in line. Feel it before seeing it. Just have a quick look just to make sure. Lift the muscles of the legs, especially the thighs, especially the kneecaps. And then come over to the other side. Just observe how this side feels different. Maybe it feels lighter, maybe it feels heavier. So get the legs working to counter heaviness. So all of the action has to start at the legs. If the legs aren't fully engaged, then the spine can't be fully engaged. Back to the centre, bring your feet parallel, and then step or jump, feet back together, and then come back into Tadasana. Just lift up into the chest. Just breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Just feel the energy around the hips, chest. Listen to the breath. Just bring your feet hip width apart, turn your toes inwards, and then have some blocks for your hands and come forwards into uttanasana, into half uttanasana. So from the hips, come forwards, keeping the chest lifted, coming forwards, turning the legs consciously inwards, the fronts of the thighs inwards, so that the backs of the thighs can broaden outwards, lifting the seat bones. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Maybe you can go down a little lower this time. Maybe not, just observe what your body is giving you in terms of information. Observe where your weight is from the feet. Bring your weight into your heels. If you can reach down to the floor, then do, but just feel how the body responds to the pose. Don't overdo it. Don't underdo it. Just find the balance of action. Listen to the breath. Turning the fronts of the thighs inwards gives you space to pick up the seat bones a little higher, projecting the chin and the chest forwards. And then reach down to the floor, bend your knees if you have to, and then walk your hands towards the front edge of the mat. Have your hands shoulder width apart. Step the feet back, have the feet hip width apart, and then come back into dog down. Activating your legs, lifting the fronts of the thighs all the way up to the hip. Turning the fronts of the thighs inward so that the heels start to separate. From here we're going to go into rajakapotasana. So if you need to, come down onto your knees first, and then bring your right knee to make contact with the right wrist. Bring the right foot underneath the left hip, and then stretch that right leg away. So come down onto the floor if you need to, and then be on the fingertips. Turn that front thigh, so that back thigh, that straight leg, turn the front of the thigh inwards. So the back of the thigh broadens outwards so you can bring levelness to the hips and lift up into the chest. Breathing even deep inhalations and exhalations. Filling the bottom of the lungs to the top, and vice versa with the out breath. Come back onto the palms of the hands. Turn your toes under that back leg and either step back and be on all fours, or come push yourself back up and come up into dog down. Just reset in dog down. So if you've come down to all fours, you can come back up into dog down once you're comfortably out of rajakapotasana. And then bend your left knee. Come down to all fours if you are not doing it from dog down. Bring the left knee to make contact with the left wrist. Bring the left foot underneath the right hip. And then stretch that right leg away. Come up onto the fingertips. And elevate the heart area upwards. Turning that back leg. So the front of the thigh turns in, the back of the thigh turns out. Just bring the hips level. And then bring the palms down. Turn the toes in of that back foot, step in a little bit, and then go on back onto all fours if you need to, or come back, push yourself back up into dog down. Just breathing even deep inhalations and exhalations. Come down onto your knees. Just sit back on your heels. Lift up into the chest, just sitting back on your heels in virasana, but the knees apart, the toes together, and then come forwards again into Adho Mukha Virasana, using the block under your head if you need it, or just coming all the way down. Just stretching out your back. And then when you're ready, just come back, sit back on your heels for a moment. Just feel the energy in the shoulders and in the chest and the neck. And the arms. And then just come up into into cross legs, just come down into cross legs. So sit on a lift if you need to, have a couple of blocks either side of the hips. And just hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest. Just breathe even, deep inhalations and exhalations. So have a couple of blocks where you can reach them, just adjust so that your seat bones are feeling level, so adjust the buttock flesh. Hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest. So keep your eyes open, but keeping the eyes still in the sockets. So if you've got a bad back, then you might want to avoid coming forwards too far. So sometimes it's nice to just kind of stretch it out a little bit, but you want to kind of put minimal tension on your back when you forward bend. So the way that you put lots of tension on your back is when you round your back and your back becomes rounded and you try and bring your head down to the floor. That's always a bad thing for a forward bend. So it's often useful to have a couple of blocks for your hands and to just have them at arm's length and then have the fingertips pressing onto the blocks and then press your hands onto the blocks and try and scoop the chest up through the arms. Lift onto the front edge of the seat bones, so roll in onto the front edge of the seat bones, drawing the belly button towards the spine, lifting the heart area upwards. So just see how that feels in your back. If it feels okay, then just come forwards a little, but it's not at the expense of bringing the head down. It's always lifting out of the hips, into the abdomen, into the heart area. So just a little bit at a time, coming forwards. Just driving the chest upwards. Extending the chin and the chest forwards. Just coming forwards a little bit at a time, just feeling how that feels for your back and not over pushing it. Maybe you can find the floor, projecting the chin and the chest forwards. So Ardha Mukha, swastikasana or ardha padmasana, lengthening out the back, drawing the tailbone in so that it stays down on the floor. And then gently come back to the centre and just hold onto your knees. Lift the heart area upwards, draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Just breathing even, deep inhalations and exhalations. Just have a block, bring the blocks behind you, and you can use that for your hand as you lift up into the heart area and turn to the right side. Dig the hand into the floor or onto the block. The block can be useful just because it helps you to lift the chest a little more. So turn to the right side. And then come back to the centre. Hold on to your knees, lift up into your chest, and then turn to the left. Again, digging that back hand firmly into the floor. Drawing your abdomen across your ribs and your shoulders. And then come back to the centre. Just hold on to your knees, lift up into the heart area. Drawing your shoulders away from your ears. Just reach underneath your knee. Have your block so that you can bring your elbow onto the block. So that elbow is directly underneath the shoulder. Hold onto that knee and then have your left hand on your hip and turn the chest. But before we try and turn too much, I want you to push that elbow into the floor, that right elbow into the floor, and lengthen across into that left seat bone so that it comes down onto the floor really firmly, because otherwise it feels like it wants to lift. So drawing that left side down, that left seat bone, trying to keep the weight in the seat bone. Then extend the chest upwards, turn the chest, and then lift up and over, sukhasana. Just keeping the seat bone pressing down into the floor, keeping that left seat bone extending down into the floor. And then come back to the centre. Just hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest, drawing your shoulders down. And then bring your hand underneath your left hand underneath the knee. Bring the elbow onto the floor. Again, pushing that elbow deeply into the floor so that you can lengthen across into that right seat bone. Feel that the right seat bone is firmly attached to the ground. Lift up into the chest, turn the chest upwards, and then reach up and over, connecting that right seat bone, that right elbow, really deeply into the pose, lengthening across into that right seat bone, keeping the seat bone down as firmly as you can. Looking up underneath the armpit, and then that lift of the head just clears out the sinuses like it does in trikonasana. And then gently come back to the center. Just hold onto your knees, feel the energy that you have created inside the body. Just lift out of the hips, up into the chest, keeping the shoulders down. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. And then just come down onto your back and come into supta baddha. So pull your knees in towards your chest, just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just a gentle massage on the spine, just easing out any tensions in your back. And then bring the feet together, let the knees fall apart, and then just allow the legs to release into the floor. If there's stiffness in your hips, then put a block underneath your hip to support it, but have the same on both sides. Don't just support one side, otherwise you'll feel uneven. Just feel how body can gently release into the ground. Keep the feet pressing firmly together. Stretch your arms to the ceiling, interlock the fingers, turn the palms all the way out. Keep your arms straight as you lengthen your arms along the floor. If there's stiffness in your shoulders, have a folded blanket under your hands, or a block or a couple of blocks, whatever you need. Just raise your arms up, swap the interlock of the fingers, turn the palms all the way out again, and then lengthen your arms along the floor. And then release your arms, and then just let the arms rest on your lower ribs. And then gently draw your knees together, have your knees together, your feet apart, just resting out your back. And then pull the feet in towards the seat bones, just very briefly. Bring the right knee in, bring the right foot across the top of the left thigh, just stretching that right knee away for a moment, just the beginnings of reclining pigeon. And then just let that right knee relax. Get hold of the back of the left knee and then draw that left knee in towards the chest. So supta kapotasana, reclining pigeon pose, drawing the left knee deeply into the chest, stretching out the glutes on the right side, just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. and then release, and then just bring both feet close to the seat bones again, and then bring the left leg across over onto the top of the thigh. Pull the right knee into the chest, pulling the knee in towards the chest, just stretching out the glutes. Keep the tailbone down as you pull the knee into the chest. And then gently just bring the feet back down onto the floor. Have the knees together, the feet apart, just resting out your back for a moment. And then just hold on to the edges of the mat and then lengthen the legs up to the ceiling for viparita karanhi. Just a very brief, gentle inversion. Use a block underneath your back if it feels like you're if it's a lot of effort to lift the legs, just put a block underneath your lower back, underneath the sacrum. Just breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. And then just gently bring your feet back down onto the floor. Just roll yourself up into a seated position, and then get your folded blanket from underneath your head. Just make sure that it's evenly folded, and then just guide yourself down along the centre of the mat. And then just allow yourself to gently release into the floor. Just allow the body to become heavy on the ground. And then out of that heaviness comes a perceivable lightness of energy that radiates from the bones and fills the muscles with positive energy. extending into the organs and into the flesh and the skin. And when you're ready, just gently wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, just bringing yourself back into this pose of shavasana. And then draw your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just a gentle massage on the spine. And then gently roll yourself over onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. And then straighten out the top leg, come back up into a seated position. Just a final cross legs with your hands in the masti. A final spinal lift. Draw your breath in through your nose, down into the abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice. That good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions and the forward bends and the twists and the inversions bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin forwards and down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to seek to acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside. And then to send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards, connecting the tip of the index finger with the tip of the thumb. And then as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. So hopefully you feel as though you've really lifted your energy and given yourself lots of good positive energy to put into your day. So thank you very much for joining me.